Hey, this is Scott of PhotographyBonsai.com. Today I'm doing another photo excursion video. This was in Gary, Indiana. There's an abandoned church that's pretty popular with photographers. My friends and I went there. It was a pretty large group and we took some photos. First, talk about the equipment I used. And I'll show you some of the photos I didn't like and some of the ones that I did. Using a Pentax K-5 with a 14mm f2.8 lens, as well as a 55mm f1.4 lens. Those are both Pentax. Using a Sigma flash and occasionally some wireless flash triggers that use radio frequency. So let's start off with some of the photos I didn't like. This was down in the basement. We had actually ventured down into there. The church itself is structurally bad in some places, but it isn't too dangerous. So down the basement you can see the camera was having trouble focusing. We've got bad conditions. Let's see what ISO, that was with the 14mm lens, ISO 6400. Just didn't turn out. Another situation, a little better, but you can see some lens flare from that bright light. Outside, what happened here is that I was using settings for indoors and I didn't change. Took a photo before I changed my settings and that's what I got. Overexposure. Another situation, some focus issues again. Looks like not too exciting. And the flash, of course, didn't have enough power to light subjects so far away. Another issue with you got really bright windows and a dark foreground. It's kind of what you get. You can see some reflections as well. That was most likely from the lens filter. Here we've got some purple fringing. Not too exciting photo. This one more overexposure. Kind of challenging with such a dark interior. Then you've got the lights beaming in from the sides where the structure is falling down. Do have a few more bad ones in this directory. We're moving around. There's quite a few floors to the structure. See, the shutter speed was too slow and got some blurring of the people in the photo. Here, overexposure again. Probably the best way to avoid that is just not shoot the sky in a photo like that. This one I was having a challenge with getting the right exposure, using manual exposure mode and adjusting settings, most likely using the Pentax green button to gauge general exposure, but still need to adjust it sometimes. He's taking some photos of my friend in cosplay. You can see this didn't turn out. I was pretty far back using the 55mm f1.4 at f2, but he was doing a kicking motion. It wasn't set up. The room we were in was pretty small, so it's challenging getting a wide enough shot with that lens. Here's a blurred photo. This is in another building. We ventured out into the neighborhood a little bit. If you know anything about Gary, it has a troubled past. There are a lot of abandoned buildings there. More overexposure. I think the camera was exposing for the structure inside instead of the exterior. Here's one. The exposure is pretty decent, but he's moving and the shutter speed was too slow. This one, more overexposure. It's challenging to make that work in those situations. This one's pretty decent, but still some blur with the people, and then of course the super bright entryways on the left. So that was it for the photos I didn't like, or at least some of them. I'll go over the better ones now. Here's down in the lower levels. See so much texture to this photo. Pretty interesting. Here's when I was using my LED flashlight. I really like that large light fall off to that. It looks pretty interesting. This room was pitch dark. That was in the basement. So pretty standard shots of the main chapel area of that church. Nice framing. The lines are pretty symmetrical, the two sides and all that. It's my friend with his camera gear doing some wireless flash. Nice photo with the 55 at f2.5. Turned out pretty good. There's a lot of random clothing strewn around. There's a shoe off to itself. Thought that was a good one to try my wireless flash with, so you can see the really strong shadow to the side. Here's one of the people. I like how it turned out, nice and sharp. And she's off to the left a little bit. You can see all of the stone structure. Pretty interesting. Some of my photographer friends. He's got his lantern, his camera ready. Pretty neat photo with all the destruction around him. Here's another one with the 55 at f1.4 maximum aperture. Now I love the blur effect to that. I'm focusing on this one floor tile that was different than the others. Also like the tone and color of that image. So we got a few more back in the other directory. This is one of the other structures near the church. Large theater. This one was in a lot worse condition than the church. But overall, pretty interesting building. So my friends with his NEX camera. Again with the 55. Love that lens. Produces really great images. I was at f2.2, so that was close to MTF for that lens. Here's an interesting little hallway photo. Kind of skewed it to the side a bit. See everyone walking down through there. There's a better photo of the little photo session my friend and I had when he's in cosplay, which is basically a costume generally related to anime and Japanese TV shows. So you can see he's kicking up in the air. Pretty cool. Down here with his foot, the dust is being pushed up a little bit. That's neat. Here's one I actually intentionally focused on this far left. And it's good to try new things. It might not always work out, but I think this turned out pretty interesting. And then the text here is just enough that you can see a little bit, but it says death to false something. So, pretty interesting photo just to look around and wonder about what it is. Just one more photo with the 55. Nice, sharp, great contrast to that. Here's another one. This was his camera, and I took a photo of what he was set up to take. Kind of interesting. And then, of course, the blur there is really extreme, but then the camera is nice, pretty sharp. I was at f2, again with the 55. Interesting stuff strewn around the church. I assume some of it was brought in after the fact. You know, like I said, a lot of photographers and explorers go to this place, so they might bring props. There's one of my photographer friends again taking a photo. with some questionable graffiti, and then the cake is a lie is actually from a video game. Nice wide-angle photo with the 14 f2.8 at f3.2. Pretty sharp. Nice contrast. Here's one of the interior rooms on the second floor, I believe. See, someone broke up the walls for some reason. I don't know why, but multiple walls. One more with the wide angle. There's another one. There's a little bit of purple fringing, but I like the framing of this. Looks pretty epic. So that was it for that excursion. That's pretty intense. It's big, wide open building. It's not difficult to get into. I think the city owns it now, so maybe it's a little questionable if you go there or not, but definitely an interesting experience. Thanks.